Hey guys, welcome to the live. Lots of people today. So some exciting new names. Amanda, hi Phil, Anne Marie, hey Marcia, hi Eco Friends, hi Violet. So just wait a few minutes for you guys to log on. And yeah, hope you guys are having a great weekend. And Lola's here with me too, so Lola will be in the live, my trusty little friend. Lo, you want to say hi? She's laying there. Hey, Eva. Hey, Lauren. Hey, Nancy. Happy Friday. Let me get a drink before we start. Lots of good questions, too. Hey, Tom. So, anyways, Marcia says, hey, Lola. Lola, we went out. Where I live, there's tons of ticks. And they're out and about because I took her down to, we have a pond a little ways away. So take her to the pond, and she's all happy. And there's a couple stumps to sit on. So I sit down on a stump, whatever. I'm just watching her. And all of these ticks, like 3 or 4 ticks, start to crawl on me. And then I went back to the house and they're just like crawling. I don't know if they got on her, but they're crawling in the bed too. I'm like, oh, this is so nasty. Hey, Candace. Tom says, your boy seems chipper. Yes, Ruffin is A-okay. kind of, I definitely jumped the gun a little bit. Like, well, yeah, Ruffin's fine. He's doing great. So yeah, you could tell in the video I posted of him galloping around, you could tell he felt really good. So yeah, so he's doing good. Okay, so let me start with the questions on the homepage really quick. And there's a few people that couldn't make it, so so I think I'll start there. Debbie says, I'm hearing May, or at least sometime before November, will be very disruptive to our lifestyle turmoil for most in the US. Do you see this in our timeline focused reality? I know lots of disinformation out there and discernment is key, but would like to take your take on it. Isn't everything disruptive? Isn't there turmoil everywhere? When I hear stuff like this, I'm just like, I understand why, people tune into it or whatever, but I just can't help but laugh. Yes, like it depends on how you view things. It depends on how you view reality. Like this, it depends on how you view things. There's always going to be stuff. There's tons of stuff going on right now that's disruptive. There's tons of people going through turmoil. It just depends on your perspective and you as an individual. Like, there's events that affect people as a whole, right? Because we're co-creating this reality, and you have things like elections and wars and blah blah blah. But you yourself have control is the wrong word, but the power of how you can change the way you perceive things at any time. So there's no need to worry or if there's going to be something bad that happens or whatever, because you're always, it just depends on how you want to perceive it or how you experience it to begin with. But no, I've laughed at that stuff before. There's always, something terrible is going to happen. There's lots of turmoil, or there's going to be a disaster. We're all not going to be able to, let's just give ourselves a pat on the back, because in the truther community for the past 5 years, and I'm not pointing out anyone specific because I really don't know. I just hear stuff through the grapevine, but they've been saying, supply chains are going to be shut down. You have to buy these military meals and stock up, and we have yet to starve, everyone. we have yet to starve and be hungry and be without food and water. So we're doing pretty good. Okay. No, I mean, for me, like, I don't know. I just don't subscribe or allow anyone to tell me, like, what, I don't know, how I'm going to react to anything, who I am, what's going to go on in my life, you know? Like, I got it. Thanks. You know, but people are but people I'm serious, that's actually how I am. People are really afraid, and this is, you know, I've said, I don't want to use the word truth or community because I don't even know what that means, but just in the public and on social media in general, this is true across the board. Fear sells. If you can make a lot of money presenting a fearful thing, and people tune into it, and people will quote unquote resonate with it, because the brain, since we're born, is programmed through fear. Everyone's had it. So people link in, it's mass consciousness. Oh, I resonate with this. This totally makes sense. There's certain paradigms that people will, it's mind control is what it is, but it's, in a way, but it's paradigms that people subscribe to, that they quote unquote resonate with, or it fits their perception or fits their perspective, and so they give their energy into it. A lot of energy transfers over to money and blah blah blah. So anyways, in the end, our souls volunteered to be here for this during this time. We play a part. What role do you want to play? Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the thing is, everyone volunteered because this is a free will universe. So everybody chose, everybody from a very high level chose to be here. So it's just, you know, it's just about what is in alignment with your integrity, or what is in alignment with you, the true you, the authentic you, not the you that has the filter of fear. Does that make sense? So Marcia says, I keep stocking up on food and then I have to eat it all. It reminds me of during COVID, all of the people by me were buying toilet paper and paper towels, and you couldn't, when you went to the store, it's like there was no, the shelves were clear. There was no toilet paper to be found, and we have yet to need that much toilet paper still, I think. Then I saw people in my neighborhood having yard sales trying to sell the paper towels and the toilet paper, and it's like, okay, you know, oh, that was funny. But yeah, that's just kind of my take on that. And then let's see. Brian says, hi everyone, it's been a while, Megan. Your new book was incredible. Thank you. And Valnick. Oh, Brian. Hi, Brian. Sandra says, when Valnick said they watch over portholes and they can't get through, did he mean both Greys and reptilians? Is Valnick ever coming back to Q&As? So, I mean, it's just like any type of security system, right? Like, it's monitored. If something tries to get through, then the Galactic Federation gets an alert, and then they go deal with it or whatever. So, is Valnick ever coming back to Q&As? Valnick actually is in everything that I do, just nobody realizes it. It's actually a fun experiment in a way, because he's always been there. Just not, maybe not, I didn't present him as the Galactic Federation, you know, his job, but the energy that he is, that's just a role that he plays, right? So that's not who he actually is. He is part of my entourage. He and I work together all the time, so it's not, he, even in the videos that are not Galactic Federation videos, he's still there. He's still in this video right now. It's just that nobody realizes it. So, but yeah, there'll be Q&As and stuff like that, and we'll do other stuff. I just I have a whole life outside of this. The thing that I can say for sure is in regards to military operation type stuff, okay, some people call it intel, it's really, information or whatever. In regards to that, that will be no more. So I've already, it's not that we won't talk about space or extraterrestrials or have words of wisdom or guidance. If you look closely at a lot of our Q&As, like in the past, actually for most of them, he hasn't really given any quote unquote military intel or anything like that. And in a while, the last of it was put in the book, the recent book, and we've written 2 books about it, and there's nothing more. There's really nothing more to say about it in regards to how the Federation military specifically is assisting humanity. You know what I mean? Like I can't think of any rock or stone left unturned. And the thing is, I was never an informant, military. It's the same for this kind of military agencies or whatever the heck you want to call them. They don't randomly contact someone and say, hey, can you tell the public about our operations? Why would they do that? It's the same thing for the Galactic Federation. Whatever they do in space, all of their operations will happen regardless of whether we know about it or not. Same thing goes for the white hats and the military of Earth. There's stuff that goes on, their operations that go on, they happen regardless of whether the public knows about them or not. So it's not necessary. It's not necessary for them to continue or anything like that. The thing is so they're there as he's there as with me as guidance and other stuff, but just not specifically in talking. There's stuff about the Federation and their lives and stuff like that. I'm not saying I'm not talking about that. I just want to point out the specifically the intel part of it, because I don't think there's anything more left to say about it. And what else? So the thing about intel too is there are agencies that contact people to be informants, right? And why would they do that? Because they have an interest in swaying the public's opinion, right? So there are agencies that do that, but not the Federation. So that was one of my big reasons for writing the book and revealing my connection to Valnek, why he talks to me. And it doesn't have anything to do with me being an informant or anything like that. So that was my thing on that. Okay. Megan says, off topic, but when Ruffy was running with the other horse's tail was up. What does that mean to the horses? He was just excited. So he's putting his tail up, running around. And a lot of mares, his name's Parker. Parker is a thoroughbred. And Parker had been rehabbed for something. So that's why my friends didn't want him running around. But I didn't care. I think that he could use a little fun in the field, if you ask me, but just because he was excited. Francis says, I couldn't stop watching Ruffin's video running with his buddy, melted my heart. I know, mine too. They looked so cute. Tom says, I don't remember choosing anything pertaining to this incarnation. Okay, so let me get to other questions. Okay, let's start with Amanda, and then I'll get back to the homepage. So Amanda says, I can't be there to listen because of work, but my question is, do I continue living on the farm or finding another place to invest in and live? Yeah. See, the thing is, when we get into things, so really everything is, the reason why we do anything is because it will be, well, not the reason, but so sometimes we get into things, we go into it with the heart, it feels expansive. And then the ego comes in, and the ego also has its reasons. So the ego has expectations. A lot of our expectations, sometimes when we do things that's a passion, but then the ego comes in and makes it about money too, as well. So that's just one limitation or one expectation that the ego can have. So it's not that you should or should not do anything. It's just, why are you doing what you're doing and not allowing the head or the mind to get involved? Because I mean, when I tune into it, it feels, when I tune into the farm, it feels like a lot of fun. Now, when I tune into the ego or the mind's, how the mind is perceiving it, it's a lot of disappointment, a lot of frustration, a lot of things were supposed to go this way and now they're not. And so, I mean, there may be a time eventually where, when and where you move on, right? But we want to come from that place through a place of clarity, if that makes sense, and not, should I do this, should just come from the heart. That's what I'm trying to say. So yes, things are not panning out exactly the way you want to, and I want to shed light on something. The more you try to make things work out, the more, or try to make things go a certain way, it's kind of like a domino effect where things start, you put a lot of resistance and tension, and then things don't go your way, or things, it's very hard to make things work. So what if you just tried to stop, take a breather, first of all, and just stop trying to make things work out so hard, because it's a lot of pressure and tension build up, and then what happens is we say, oh well, I'm just going to run away from this and everything will be better on this other farm or wherever it is. And maybe so, but again, it's about taking the energy out of it so we can come from a clear perspective. So that's something to ponder. Megan says they looked so happy. I know, they were so cute. I couldn't take it. I was like, oh my God, I gotta take a video of you. Well, Ruffin, we put Ruffin on some medicine for arthritis, and so I was so happy to see him galloping around. Phil says, oh look, Phil has a cat. That's a cute cat. Hey, Megan and everyone, thanks for sharing your time with us and putting yourself out there. Hey, can you send a message to or help me connect to my star team? They fly over my head all the time and want to connect more intimately. Thank you. Yeah, let me take a drink. So this brings up some good points. So the thing about being in contact with aliens, right? So there is a perception that, and it's not a wrong perception, right? It's just a perception, that they are in a different place, on a different planet, or in a ship. And by all means, they are. Okay, so they have a physical body, and there is light incarnated into the body, and that is what gives the body life. And they're different planets or whatever, just the same as you or I. I am in the United States, my body lives here on the farm, but I'm incarnated into this body. I am so big You are so big. They are so big. Their higher levels, all of their higher levels are not in the body, okay? Because you cannot, all that you are, first of all, it's kind of like you're a beam from the sun. So you're connected to the sun, and you come all the way into the central sun from source, all the way into the body. So the furthest perspective you have is projected here, but you're still connected, you know? It's just not all of you is in the body. The same is for them. So they're connected to the central sun and incarnated on a different planet or wherever. And you and your team are always, so you might not be on the ship with them. You might not be on a different planet, obviously. Your body is not. But you, the you that is you, is always connected to them because you're always connected to that energy that they are. So, and when we make agreements with those beings, so it's consciousness, so it doesn't happen exactly like this, but let's just, for the purpose of explaining the way, explaining so that people can understand, before you come to earth, you say, okay, I want to transcend X, Y, or Z, and the beings step forward. Okay, we're going to assist you, and we're going to work with you. So and then you're born. You go through some sort of amnesia. You get stuck in the ego, and they are never going to abandon you. They've never. You can never ever be disconnected from them. You can never be disconnected from the light that you are, because you are the light. Okay, it's only in, so, but I mentioned the ego. A lot of people, or a lot of our energy, gets stuck in the ego, and that's the part that perceives the disconnection, because the body is not connected to them. The brain, the ego, is not connected to them. So when people, it's a perception that they're not always around, or we can't always reach them. It's because we're perceiving it through the brain. Does that make sense? Or there's density in the brain, or when we believe that our entourage abandoned us or we're disconnected, it's because we've gone just straight into the ego, and they can't reach us through the ego. The ego is part of the body, it's density. So they're not connecting on that level. They're connecting through the heart. So yeah, for you, it's just about, see, the thing is there's also filters. See, you've been through times where you felt really in sync. Okay, I'm getting the messages, I'm being guided. And then your higher levels, or you say, okay, I want to level up. And so when we decide to level up, more density comes up to the surface. It's like you start to have more ego deaths. You start to, there's not one spiritual awakening. The whole thing is a spiritual awakening, right? So then it feels like, or there's a perception that the messages stopped or decreased, or they weren't really around, or couldn't, you weren't connecting as much. And the thing is there's just part of you that has come to the surface to be transcended. There's still very much there. It's just there's see, you're leveling up, so more has to be released, and then they come in even more, and then you transcend more of yourself, more of the ego, and then they come even closer in your perception. Does that make sense? So for you, it's just, and you've been working really hard to get in touch with them, and it's understandably so, because a lot of times on earth we feel like nobody understands us, and earth is bullshit, whatever. And and it's totally understandable. But what if, like I said to Amanda, what if you just stopped trying so hard, just let it go slightly, and you can grab and reach, try to grasp back on, but what if you just let it go slowly and see what happens? um hey, Sharon. So yeah, I'm spending a lot of time on questions. So maybe it'll go a little bit over the time today. Let me just get to the homepage really quick, and get a drink. Vic says, I've been feeding a stray cat. The new manager gave me the riot act and said I could not feed it anymore. The new tenants are having an issue with the food bowls attracting raccoons. The kitty looks sick and I can't bear not feeding it. I feed a few other cats that come to my door, but this cat hangs out at another building and runs away if I get too close. The situation is breaking my heart. Your input would be immensely appreciated. Oh man. Whenever I've rented from a place, I've always hid like 3 or 4 animals. I've never been legal, so to speak, with the apartment managing complex or the leasing management. I've always hidden my dogs or my cats or whatever. Yeah, I understand your plight. Well, see, some of this is, and this is not to sound harsh, okay, but some of this is the circle of life. For animals, they come in and then they come out. They don't live as long as us, and they're not as attached to the body as we are. They kind of have a knowing, like, okay, this body is not serving me anymore. I'm going to leave it, and then I'll just come back very, very soon. So there's no, in the big span of things, there's no real danger. But I feel, if I mean, they can't prove it's you feeding the cats, unless they have you on camera. But what if you got like a disguise and you um uh yeah, I don't know, maybe hide the food or something. For me, I can't help but just say what I would do, and I would just keep feeding the cat. I mean, they can't really prove it's you. It's just important. I think the only thing I have to say here is it's important not to see the cat as a victim, because looks like a little vulnerable kitty, but it is a creator incarnate, and it will, if the body perishes or if there's some sort of slight suffering, it will come back again. But for me personally, I would keep feeding them. I've always had, yeah, I've always hidden like at least one dog or two. I used to have 3 dogs and 2 cats, and I only had, I think, 1 dog that was actually registered on the lease. Oh well. Never didn't hurt me in the long run. So Anne-Marie says, I feel I am living in the right place for the next few years. Can you let me know what you sense, please? Yes. Yeah, the thing is it's just where what feels most expansive to us. I mean, sometimes we are drawn to certain places because different places, there's different people, there's certain opportunities there. But when I tune into it, it feels very expansive. See, there's no right or wrong place. If you feel the call to, sometimes we're so wrapped up in trying to make the right or wrong decision. It comes from the perception that the universe could be against us, or things could not go out in our favor. And yes, sometimes they do not go in the ego's favor or how the brain thinks things should go, right? But in the huge span of things, everything is in our highest good. And so if you feel like yeah, when I tune into it, it feels very comfortable and expansive. Hey Marsha, she says, looking forward to the intuitive Q&A. You're welcome. Eco Friend says, I'm sensing major changes ahead for me and want to know if you sense anything that I should know about. Love your book. Thank you. Much love, girl. Awesome. Yeah. See, the thing with major changes, okay. See, so a lot of us have this idea, and I'm not necessarily saying this is you, but this comes to mind where, okay, and this is basically, it's kind of an idea that runs in everyone's backgrounds. Okay, if you're a woman and you're straight, okay, I'm gonna meet this man. You know, for men, it's vice versa. Okay, I'm gonna meet this amazing woman or this partner or whoever it is, and or things are gonna drastically change in my relationship, and I'm gonna get a new job, and then with a new job comes more money, and then I'm going to get the house, and then if I don't already have kids, I'm going to have kids, or things are going to be really going well for my kids. So, when I describe that, can you tune into the energy? It's kind of like chasing the dragon a little bit, like it's chasing happiness or chasing wanting fulfillment. For big changes, there has, for the ego, and just as how things happen, for there to be big changes in life, we also go through, see, whenever there's a beginning, there's also an ending. So it means that it's not always, see, the ego perceives, change, it's like a dream come true or kind of like a fairy tale. But in actuality, for the ego, it feels like big changes can feel like a lot of loss, and then things come in. But in order for things to come in, energy has to leave. So it's like, things end and then things begin. But yeah, so that's just to note. But for you, see, you shift, the universe does not shift around you. So because you're the center of your universe, right? We're all the sun, we're all the center of our own universe. Not in an egotistical way, just in it's kind of hard to describe, but anyways, yeah, when I tune into it, it's not necessarily about waiting for change or why see, yes, there's always, when you do psychic readings, you can always tune into possibilities of things to happen, right? But the thing is, they won't happen unless your energy shifts, or if you make a different decision, then that changes the course of things, right? So, yes, there are opportunities and there is stuff that can go in a different direction. Just why do you want the change, and why do you want the change, or where is there see, there's some sort of expectation attached to it, is what I'm picking up off of. Doesn't mean that, and once we let go of the expectations, that's when things really shift, because then there's nothing holding you back. It's like when you have strings attached to something, and then see, you can't move on when you have strings attached to something. You can't pull something towards you when you are putting so much tension on it, because you're actually pushing it away. So it's just, where are the expectations, and then why do I want what I want, and then once it's addressed, then there'll be big shifts. Lots of comments. Marcia says, amazing that you got away with your menagerie of animals. I did. Megan, you are a contrarian. Yeah, whatever. I've never really, everyone tries to fit in to an extent, but I've never really fit in, and whatever. I mean, oh well. There's nothing that I can do about that, A lot of that is meeting. See, when you don't meet the expectations of other people, then they get mad, right? So if you're not the person that they want you to be, if you don't say the thing that they want, if you whatever, rock people's, if your presence or the things that, the way you express yourself rocks their boat, I mean, why fit into somebody else's, I don't know, expectations or box? Nah. No thanks. So let me just go back to the homepage really quick. Tracy brought up something interesting. She's just caught the tail end of her statement. We have tried clearing shadows and it's still there. Can you maybe give us some insight on these issues? So what is a shadow? A shadow is where, see, it's darkness. There's no light in the shadow. So that's why there's a shadow, right? So it's not about clearing shadows. It's about filling the shadows with light, because in the presence of light, darkness disappears. That's why I've been talking about, when we talk about your, there's a thing, you know, people talk about the shadow self, or, the shadow self. It's not about conquering or like getting to know, you're conquering the shadow self or defeating the shadow self. It's just about bringing light to it, bringing light into, bringing your presence into it, so to speak. So, I mean, the thing, by fighting darkness, you're making the darkness, you're saying that the darkness has power over you, and then you're giving power to it. Does that make sense? Instead of just shining the light into the darkness and then it disappears. Like, the thing about I'll cite Christ. let's bring Christ into it, okay? He brought light into the situations. He didn't go about trying to defeat people or defeat the darkness. And then what happened is it's not really passivity, but by understanding and coming into the creator consciousness, welcoming his light into this plane, he transcended it. Does that make sense? So it's fascinating, you know, the whole thing. And I had that perception too, right? Like, I've, in my older videos, like a few years ago, or maybe even a year ago, or whenever, I don't know, but fighting darkness, and then one day I was like, nah, I don't really think that this is how I want to do this. And it works. I don't know, I can tell you it works. It's not about letting this is the thing, it's not about spiritual bypassing and letting the cabal or the evil people win. No, because it's not about being passive or agreeing to their stuff so that they shut up. It's really, truly about knowing that they have no power over me. So why would I fight you? Do you know what I mean? It's a sad relationship when you don't fit in. Good things come on their own, usually. Nicole says conformity. Who wants that? Yes, boring. I always felt rules were made for people to follow, not me, just others. Rules for thee, not for me. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, conformity. Nah. Okay, I'll get back to the questions in the chat now. So where I left off. Okay, so Nancy is next. Nancy says, I'm struggling with my 28-year-old daughter who has 2 beautiful toddlers. She comes over and displays verbal abuse, and I feel down. I'm setting boundaries and limit her visits. Any thoughts? The thing about... So, okay, I'm just tuning into the wording a little bit. The thing about abuse is everybody has a different definition on what constitutes abuse, right? So what, and see, the thing is you can see things from a certain perspective, having had certain experiences, and it's important to note that we still see things through somewhat of a filter, right? So you have your perspective, and it's made up of, like I've said, is when something, so this is, it's a trigger for you, right? So when we're triggered by something, it's always it's not that the other, I'll use this example. So let's go to examples of extreme abuse. So there's rapists and there's pedophiles and whatever, right? It's not that we don't look at that and say, hey, that's not in alignment with my integrity. I don't want to create a world like that. And, that's not for me, right? It's that is a neutral perspective when you just can look at it and say, okay, like I see what that is. And but when we get the feelings, and this is happening a lot in this in the community too, and in the past 3 or 4 years, right? But then there's, with these atrocities being made public and whatever, then there's a lot of energetic charge to it, and that's a trigger. That's when there's something or a part of you that's being triggered. So it's just about taking the energy out of it. It's not that we look at something and we say, hey, okay, that's cool, we agree with it, or it doesn't bother me because everything's love and light. No. It's just about, okay, and by the way, not everyone is going to transcend things at the same time as you. And because there's certain perspectives are needed to make a change, and it's a co-creative thing. So that's why I keep saying we don't always want to look at things the same way. But anyways, getting back to your question. So the reason I bring that up is it's not about saying, okay, I agree with the behavior, or I'm just going to ignore it, or, that doesn't bother me, and, I'm just going to raise my vibration and blah, blah, blah. No, there's something there that's within you that is triggering you or feeling energetically tied to it. And so there's something to be delved into, because it's not about, see, we can't change her behavior or change her perspective. The thing about her is there's a lot of stuff where in her ego, or whatever you want to call it, there's a lot of stuff where she's not seeing things from the same angle that you are. Okay, so in her mind, and this happens all the time, she doesn't believe that what she's doing is wrong, or that that's verbal abuse. That's not her. It's not really coming from, for her, it's well, she's projecting a little bit, but she is projecting, but it's not. See, for her right now, this is part of her path, and she may in the future look back. That's actually part of raising kids, is they may come back to her and be like, hey, mom, remember that time you said this? So this is, and they agreed to it. So this is part of the path of parenting. Okay, so, but for you, this is just for you. Where am I energetically tied to this? See, a lot of us experience this kind of stuff in childhood, and so when we see it being done to other people, it triggers an aspect of us. Hey, Jessica. Nicole says conformity equals control. Yes. Well, yeah, see, they want everyone to think the same, act the same, and if you don't do what I want, then I'm going to throw a fit and take away all your money or call you names or whatever. Okay. Whatever. You know, it's actually on planet Earth, like when you see people lashing out a lot, it's, and yes, trying to conform or trying to get their way, trying to get you to do what they want. I mean, it's kind of comical. How could you possibly control another person? You can't, right? So but it's actually a lot of people are, their egos are made up of children's voices. So a lot of it is a little child who is not getting their way, and um, yeah, it happens over and over again. So let's see. Jessica says, I ended up making a change. I quit my night shift nursing job. I feel called to get back to nature and work on my home and ranch, trying to not worry about all the things. Yay, Jessica, congratulations. Yeah, yeah, the thing, it's interesting. I mean, the thing, and this is a theme a lot, like, see, it's not that nursing isn't expansive or that it wouldn't be in a way a good job for you because you love to assist people, right? But there's see, you work as a nurse, you aren't a nurse because you aren't doing something doesn't make you that. Just like it's a label. So yeah, and of course the ego will come in and is afraid of money and blah blah blah. And so yeah, it's just an opportunity to delve into that deeper. I mean, money, what it is it's a conditioning. So I used this example the other day. I may have even said it on here, but when you train uh dolphins, right? So the dolphins actually get a dopamine release, and they actually enjoy part of one of the rewards actually becomes the whistle, because when they hear the whistle, then the food comes and they get the treat, right? So when they hear the whistle, that's when they do the trick, and they still get a release from it. So it's not that they need the whistle or that they just associate the whistle with food. The same thing is for humans with money. No one actually cares about money. No one actually loves money. Money is a conditioned response. When humans think of money, we think of food, housing, safety, right? It's the same thing. It's a training of the brain. Nicole says, yeah, and people won't like me. I won't get good grades. I won't make money, and I won't get the dopamine hits I love to get for being a good girl. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, when everybody loves everyone because everyone is unconditional love. Hard to believe sometimes, I know. But when someone doesn't like you, it comes from, like I said, it's about a neutrality. So this is important to note. There are, I'll say it with the animals. It's the connection of the heart, right? So there's some animals that I'm more drawn to than others. We have a really, like my dog Rex, who passed away. Him and I were like peanut butter and jelly, like very connected. And it's not that I didn't love my other animals, it's just he and I have a very, very close connection of the heart. It's kind of hard to explain. That's the best way I can and just to describe it. So there's that. But I feel it doesn't come from the head of me liking him or not liking someone. When someone doesn't like you, it's just basically their ego saying you don't fit into my box, or you bother me, or whatever. So actually, this is a good point to make. A lot of people don't like Trump, but in not liking him, they've given so much energy and power to him. Same thing with all political figures. It works like that on both sides. Same thing with Joe Biden. If people learned this, then our political system would just kind of like dissolve, because it's built off of the ego system. Okay, let me get to the next question. Carly says, my husband and I are taking a big leap of faith and starting a business. It's so scary. Do you see this venture working out for us? Are we doing the right thing? Yay, congratulations. So yeah, I mean, like I've said with the other questions too, we feel the call from the heart. Okay, let's dive in, let's do this, right? And then the ego comes in, oh my God, about money. And if the business, see, what does it mean if the venture works out, or if what would validate that it is the right thing? And when you start a business, or when people start businesses, a lot of the success of the business is defined by how busy you are, or how many people go to your business or buy from you, and how much money you make. So those, for some people, maybe not for you, but for some people, that's the definition of success, right? And again, it's approval. See, when you make money, or when people give you money, they're basically saying that, not when they have to, like with the IRS and stuff like that, but that's a different thing. But when people give you money, they're basically, it's reinforcing what you're doing, or it's validation. It's energy. Money's an energy exchange, right? It doesn't mean, how, the question here is, how much validation are you looking for from other people to enforce that what you're doing is the right thing for you? Does that make sense? Because that's where all the pressure comes from. The business is, it has to, or for doing the right thing, it has to make money, and it has to attract a lot of people, and all of that is based off of approval from others. They will never know you, the you that is you, the light that you are. The higher beings that are in touch with you, the ones that have the overview, know you. So, and you know yourself. So they'll never be able to validate that what you're doing or this business is in alignment with who you are or your integrity. Does that make sense? So, and when it's in alignment with who you truly are, with your integrity, the money will come, the people will come to your business. It may not be as successful, or quote unquote make as much money as the ego wants it to, but that's the ego. Does that make sense? So it's yeah, the thing is just the way, this isn't true for everything. By all means, there are exceptions to the rule, and stuff like that. It's nothing is ever black and white. So I want to preface by saying that. But we're still in a time where if you appeal to people's egos, if you appeal to the lower chakras, money, power, and greed, and you start a business based on those principles, you're going to get a large response, and you're going to get a large amount of money. That's just how most people's minds work. There is still a lot of people who are stuck in their minds and maybe not feeling what is in alignment with their heart constantly, or moving from that place. So we're still stuck in those times. So the people that are deciding to come from the heart, come from a place of love, and start businesses from that place, as time goes on and as these things come to the surface and clear, it will be very sustainable. It will be fruitful, because you're rooted in integrity. You're rooted in the new energy that Earth is being built off of, not the old energy. So from the outside, right, it still looks like the old energy, the old paradigm is quote unquote winning, so to speak. But because the energy is shifting, people are coming into alignment with their hearts. Everything that was built from the ego will fall, will dissolve, and we're coming into a new time. So as long as it's in alignment with you, and when you're triggered, of course, deal with the triggers, but as long as it's in alignment with you, that is a huge success, you know? Heather says, ooh, I messed this up for a second. Oh, I clicked the wrong button. Heather says, I've started talking back to my ego that when it speaks to me, it's wild. Ego shuts up quick. Yes. I mean, yeah, you can like move it aside or whatever. Okay, there was just a few questions on the homepage, so I'm going to go back to those and then I'll spend a little more time on this live because I'm having a great time. Casey says Lenny has a mass in her ear. Her 8-year-old pup Lenny has a mass in her ear. The doctors weren't worried about till recently. It has grown due to location. They are recommending we remove her ear. What does Lenny want us to do? I'm worried it's causing her pain, or is it okay and wants us to leave it alone? Well, the thing is about arms, legs. See, when I tune into it, this is like a very small, I mean, if someone's ear is removed, that's a very small cosmetic thing, right? So that's great news. It's just yeah, they just remove the ear, right? And yeah, so that when I tune into it, it's really they're not doing it for cosmetics, but I'm saying the result or not having an ear is cosmetic. That's actually really cute. My cat has no back legs. She's so cute. She has no she has from like the knee, they don't have knees, but you know what I mean, from the knee down, or what would be our knee, she has no legs, she has no feet. So it's just you know, there are plenty of animals and pets that do without their limbs. I actually, this reminds me of a dog. I dog sat for this dog who was paralyzed from the waist down, so she didn't have movement of her back legs, and she was just she had wheels, which was super cute. She had like a little wheelchair that she ran around on. So they really don't harp on stuff like we do, or see, there is no right or wrong decision here. When I tune into it, she is really here. Her presence is really here for you to help ease some of your struggles, or to assist you and not necessarily make life easier, because that's not necessarily possible, but just to assist you in opening up. And see, she's always with you, whether she's not in the body or not, but she prefers to continue on in this body for now. It's not her time to move on. So whatever will allow her to stay in the body, or keep it up and running to the best of its ability, she's on board for. So that's when I tune into her, that's what I get. La la la. Okay, just one more question from the homepage and then we can move back. Yes, whenever Debbie is talking about pain, wherever there is pain, it's something. See, our body stores old energy from misperceptions or whatever. It's density. So instead of welcoming in the light that we are, we basically hold on to the density, or hold on to old emotions. So whenever there's pain in the body, it's coming from that place. In order to release it, you address the energy that it manifested from. So it's energy from the past. The more open you are in your energy field, or the more your presence comes into the body, the less resistance. There's no resistance in the body because you're not resisting anything, and then the body opens and there's it's very open. So there's not any pain, or the pain lessens a lot. So that's just what, yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Okay, let me go back to the chat. Some people are having discussions about sunscreen. I never use sunscreen, so I don't have any advice. I tan. Well, first I get a farmer's tan from working outside, which is very nice. And then and then I don't live by the beach anymore, but if I went to the pool or whatever, I don't use I know there's some people that will say you're not supposed to or whatever, but I use tanning oil, like coconut oil. So, YOLO. Violet says, I and my 2 kids moved out of my husband's 5 months ago. I was wondering if this relationship would ever continue, or if it would be better for me just to move on. Oh, yeah, that's really tough. Well, see, the thing is, like I said, when we get into things, there is love in everything, right? So it's not that there is ever really a relationship without love. It's just that, does the relationship feel limiting? Am I making myself smaller to fit in here, or does this feel very expansive? And so it's about making clear decisions without the ego getting involved. So the thing is when we expect people to see, a lot of times we see people for the light that they are, and this is why people stay in relationships, because we feel the love, or we see the light that they are, and we ignore, or we're not focused on the part of the ego, or we're not focused on the ego or the other stuff, right? So it's not that we want to change anyone, because there's no need to change anyone, the core of who they are. But a lot of times there's expectations that the ego will change. And why? See, the question here is not if the relationship will change, not if he will change, but why do we need him to change in order for us to feel okay? Does that make sense? So it's really not, and a lot of times with marriages and stuff, it can be a lot of projection back and forth. Okay, so he's projected on you, and you've projected onto him, and that's like, it's natural, everyone does it. So, but it's for you, see, nobody can complete us. We're whole and complete on our own. And so, and it's only through setting someone free that we can actually get close to them, because when we don't want anything from them, there's no conditions, and that's when the hearts can actually come together, because the heart is not the true connection of the heart is not built on has nothing to do with limitations. It has to do with the opposite energy. Does that make sense? So for you, it's not necessarily about will he be? Oh, there's a bee. If I just ignore it, it'll fly away, hopefully. Someone told me this story. After I answer this question, I'll tell it to you. But so for you, it's not about will he change, will things work out, blah, blah, blah. It's not about the external. It's just about, see, there's deep stuff that you've both brought up in each other, and deep stuff that this has brought up within you. So great. This is a good thing, because he's actually serving his role for you. If everything were happy and good and we've had happily ever after, then it wouldn't be expansive. It wouldn't serve you in any way. When someone triggers us, they're doing us a favor, okay? Because they're assisting us in addressing aspects of ourselves that we're going to transcend. And that's what's coming up for you. So it's not about him changing or how he's going to behave or how he's going to act. It's more about why do I need him to be someone for me? What do I need from him that I can find within myself? Phil says I rarely use sunscreen. Yeah, sunscreen is not for me. I mean, it's not that I don't ever burn. I have gotten burns. I suppose if I were out in the sun, like at the beach, I might use sunscreen, but not on my day to day. I just wear a hat and, whatever. Yeah, so about resistance. So the thing with flies, so there's this indigenous group, I don't know where, I don't remember, but someone told me this story about how they're very in tune with nature. So there's these flies that come into their tribe or whatever once a year. And what they do is they all stand there and they let the flies come into their ears and their eyes and their nose and their mouth, and they don't do anything. They just stand there. So there's no resistance. They don't fight it. They don't swat at them. They come in, the flies come in, they get all of the gunk out or whatever. And then because there's no reaction, they lose interest and they fly away. So that's, so that's kind of a lesson or insight into resistance. So anyways, Lauren says, I have been feeling sad a lot about the passing of my mother-in-law. I feel pretty good with understanding we are alone. Am I picking up my husband's sadness? See, the thing is, I gotta move my leg. I was falling asleep. See, the thing is, when we have compassion, it's more, I don't know how to describe it, except there's not a tug, or we're not picking up on, it's just we see what someone's going through, okay, and I hold you in, but I see you for who you truly are, that you're creating this situation for yourself, and but I hold you, like I hold you in love, kind of thing. When we feel sad or have empathy, it's part of, see, the way that we've learned to interact with people, or the way that our minds have been programmed, is we take on other people's perceptions and then create them as our own. And so, see, it comes from trying to fix things, save is another word, trying to improve the situation. And when it comes from a perception, this is like deeply ingrained in the human consciousness. I'll explain that in a second. I don't know why, I'm just like full of life today, I guess. So it's the perception of needing to fix, and this is what happens when we feel sad, or we feel empathy in a way. It comes from needing to, we make a judgment, and then we need to fix or save, or try to take the energy, take the sadness, and make it better and turn it into something else. Is it possible to do that? Has anyone ever taken sadness and turned it into happy, or turned it into love? Because really, sadness or anything like that, it comes from, it's old, it's energy that's rooted in lack. We'll just put it that way. So the way to heal it or transcend it is to bring light into it, and then the emotions come out of the body like crying, and then it dissolves. Okay? But when it's kind of like, I've done this on my channel. I'm very see, I'll use this example. There's a lot of people, especially when I do the Q&As with Valnik or have in the past on world events, there's a lot of people that want me to, I'll use this example with the Maui situation. Okay, I got a lot of people on under the comments of that video wanting me to be sad or upset or angry. They wanted me to have these emotions about the tragic events in Maui, right? So they were asking me to basically be a vessel of sadness and anger and basically something that was not of light or was not me. They wanted me to take that on and channel it for them and reflect it back to them, to with the idea that that would make a difference or that that would change things because I have a platform. But really what it would do is if I took that energy on, right, and sat with it, and that's why I try to be so neutral about things or with my energy field, because taking on sadness and projecting it outwards, you're not healing or assisting in this situation. What you're doing is lowering your energy field, coming out of alignment with who you truly are, which is you truly are love. And then you're recreating that for you're becoming a vessel for that creation. So instead of, being like, I am who I am and, whatever, I'm love. Instead, this is a pattern that humanity participates in. Take on the sadness, take on the anger, take on the grief, and then you become a part of that. You're become part of that creation. Really, the only person it affects is you. You're not assisting anyone by taking on their sadness, because they still have it, right? They're still angry. And what it does is it just makes them, if I were to do that on my page, it just makes them feel better for being in that vibration. Does that make sense? It's not assisting them. Anyways, I became very cognizant of it. I love this explanation because I feel like I think I can be cold, but I'm not. I think I just see a situation for what it is. Yeah, and it's just, I see it for what it is and I have compassion, but I'm not going to participate or I'm not going to meet you there, if that makes sense. Anywho, I think that might be most all of it. Hey, Nobi. Yes, a lot of people don't really wear sunscreen. Good to know. Francis says, a lot of people get used to being sad. That drains my energy. I want to get away from them situation. Heather says, did you answer the question about Fancy, the 20-year-old cat yet? I will rewatch after work. I did not see a question about Fancy, the 20-year-old cat. She says, my friend lost her cat. Can you feel if she's alive or if she left for the purpose of passing? Her name is Fancy and she's 20 years old. That reminds me of the Reba song, Fancy. Fancy, don't let me down. Yeah, so a lot of times it's really not for me to speak on whether or not the cat is alive or dead, right? But sometimes animals go away because they don't want us to, they want to make their passing as easy as possible for us. So sometimes they go away to pass away. So that's just a thought that comes to mind, but it's really not for me to decide if she's alive or dead, you know. Francis says it was a fun live today. Yes, it was super fun. So I think we'll end with that, and I love you guys and have a great weekend. And we'll be back. I'll be back with another live next week. Love you.